You just ran someone over, a spirit is haunting you, and your friend is acting crazy. Now you're out of options. You just want to take photos all day, but strange things keep happening to you. Let's see if Tun can save his friends and put his spirit to rest in this condensed version of Shudder. The film begins with a couple driving in a car late at night. They share a tender moment, but their focus is interrupted when someone unexpectedly crosses their path. In the confusion, Jane accidentally hits the person, causing the car to swerve and collide with a sign. Stunned, Jane checks the rearview mirror and anxiously asks Tun if the person's okay. Tun, spotting an approaching car, urges Jane to hurry up and flee the scene. In a panic, he insists that they must drive away now, and Jane, overwhelmed by fear, complies. A few days later, Tun is capturing moments with his camera at Nocha's graduation celebration. As the science class gathers for a group photo, Tun scans the faces through his lens and notices a peculiar woman amongst the group. Puzzled, he takes another look, only to find no traces of her. Feeling unsettled by the encounter, he can't shake off the strange feeling and wonders about the mysterious sighting. Back in Tun's apartment, Jane displays a distant demeanor towards him, feeling unsettled by his apparent ease following the incident. She confides in him, expressing her struggle to find restful sleep ever since the event. Jane voices her belief that they should have taken the responsibility to ensure the person's condition. Tun, attempting to console her, rationalizes it was just a mere accident. Frustrated by his response, Jane points out his detachment, emphasizing the differences in their roles. He wouldn't be acting like that if he was the one who hit the person. With that, she leaves abruptly. The following morning, Tun visits the camera store to collect the pictures he snapped during the graduation. As he shifts through the prints, he notices an odd, blurry light effect in some of them. Concerned, Tun questions the store owner about the possibility of a malfunction in a processing unit. The owner responds nonchalantly, stating that if the photos turn out well, then it's Tun's credit, but if they turn out bad, then it's the store owner's fault. However, with further inspection of the negatives, the owner reveals that the issue stems from the actual negatives themselves. Later, Jane pays a visit to Tun's apartment in search of him. Upon reaching the dark room, she finds the door locked and calls out for him. Spotting a shadow beneath the door, she cautiously approaches. Suddenly, the doorknob begins to rattle frantically until the door swings open on its own accord. Startled by the eerie occurrence, she enters to find the sink overflowing with water. As she inches closer to investigate, she is horrified to see a head emerging from the water. Gripped by fear, she attempts to flee, only to discover the exit is now locked. Desperately screaming for help, she is abruptly awakened by her own cries. Oh, it was all just a nightmare. The unsettling figure in her dream does bear a striking resemblance to the person she accidentally hit that fateful night. Back at Tun's apartment, Jane recounts her unsettling dream to him. Seeking reassurance, Tun confronts her, assuring that he's there for her now. As he inspects his camera lens, he struggles to identify any issues. Upon examining the pictures, she questions the presence of a mysterious shadows. Tun dismisses her concerns, attributing the anomalies to a potential issue with the lenses. Jane insists he look at this one particular photo, depicting a girl gazing at Noach. She asks if the person here looks deceased or not. Tun brushes off the question, promising to have the camera repaired the next day. Later, they return to the site of the accident. Driving past, they inquire with a construction worker about the ongoing activity. The worker explains that a drunk individual crashed into the billboard. Now they have to repair it. Tun inquires if anyone was hurt, but the worker assures them that only the billboard was damaged, leaving them baffled, leaving them questioning whether she survived or if there's something more sinister unfolding. In Tun's dark room, he examines the negative of the strange photo. After washing it to enhance clarity, he discovers that it indeed depicts a girl staring at Noach in a photograph. As he gazes intently at the image, the girl gazes right back at him, sending a shiver down his spine. The next day, Tun returns to his dark room, tinkering with the photos in an attempt to fix them. Suddenly, Jane enters the room and the phone rings. Tun answers, overhearing Jane on the other end mentioning she'll visit him later. Confused by this situation as he believed Jane was already there, Tun is left wondering who is in a dark room with him. Approaching the room cautiously, he draws back the curtain to reveal an empty space. Later on, Tun and Jane are on their way to meet with the ghost photographer. Tun mentions to Jane that his neck has been bothering him ever since witnessed the accident. Jane suggests he sees a doctor to have it checked out, but Tun brushes it off, insisting it's likely nothing serious and it'll resolve on its own. Upon arrival, they discover that the ghost images are fraudulent, with ghosts digitally inserted into the pictures. Tun questions the man about the deception, to which he responds that people are fascinated by such stories, regardless of their authenticity. However, he claims to possess a genuine, unaltered photo. Displaying it to Tun and Jane, they see what appears to be a spectral manifestation of the man's deceased mother. He explains that the picture was taken at home after her passing. According to him, spirits may yearn for connection with their loved ones, suggesting that such photos carry a deeper meaning. The man suggests using a Polaroid camera, as they cannot be manipulated to capture genuine phenomenons. Jane questions how they can discern the spirit's intentions, to which the man suggests that sometimes the answers lie within the photos themselves. The following day, Tun visits a doctor's office to address his health concerns. He explains to the doctor that since a car accident, he's been experiencing neck pains, which have recently worsened. After examining him, the doctor reassures him that there are no physical issues detected. The doctor suggests that it may simply be a sprain and advises Tun to take the prescribed medication for relief. Later, Tun decides to visit Jane at the school. Upon entering her classroom and approaching her, he calls out to her but receives no response. As he nears her, she turns around, revealing bloody eyes and mouth, and begins spitting out her bloody teeth. Shocked, Tun suddenly wakes up, realizing it was all just a nightmare. As he heads to the kitchen for a bottle of water, he hears strange noises and catches sight of a figure moving towards him. To his relief, it turns out to be his friend Tun. Frantically, Tun asks for photos, but Tun is confused, asking what he's referring to. Tun decides to call Tun's wife to pick him up, but when he turns back around, his friend has vanished without a trace. Meanwhile, Jane decides to visit the science class to take some photographs after noticing discrepancies in the shadows present in the school pictures. Upon entering the classroom, she captures a photo of the window opening, but no strange shadows appear. However, when she snaps a picture of the back wall, she is startled to see an image of a girl manifesting in the photo. Alarmed, she scans her surroundings for any signs of presence. Suddenly, a scream echoes, causing a photo on the wall to fall. Cautiously, Jane approaches the fallen picture, discovering the girl's name to be Natre. In a moment of realization, Jane flashes back to the incident and recognizes Natre as the person she had hit. Back at Tun's apartment, Jane shifts through Tun's yearbook photos and comes across an image of Natre alongside Tun and another with Tun himself. This discovery raises the question, did Tun know who the girl was all along? Concerned for his friend, Tun heads over to Tun's house. Upon entering, he notices the disarray and damaged mirror. Scattered across the table are several photos, each bearing a peculiar shadow. Calling out for Tun, he sees him on the ledge of the house, and then he jumps off, eliminating himself. As they sit in a car, grappling with the recent events involving his friend, Jane raises the photo depicting the girl in the shadow. She suggests that the girl is her, isn't she? Who is she, and how is she connected to Tun? Reflecting on a past memory, Tun confides in Jane that the girl's name is Natre, and they knew each other during school. Natre was a quiet girl with no friend. They had dated, but Tun had kept their relationship a secret. Out of nowhere, she starts to hurt herself and threatens her own life. Jane asks, how are your friends involved in this? And he replies, I don't know. Tun definitely seems to be keeping a secret from Jane. The following night, Tun and Jane decide to visit Natre's house to check on her. While waiting at a traffic light, Tun notices on a rear view mirror that Natre rises from the floor. Startled, he accelerates abruptly, leaving Jane puzzled about his behavior. Glancing back at the mirror, she finds Natre gone. As Tun increases speed, he turns to Jane, only to see Natre lurking against the door window. Suddenly, he spots her directly ahead of the road, causing him to lose control and spin out before coming to a stop. Arriving at Natre's house, her mom lets them in and tells them to stay for dinner since Natre is sleeping right now. Tun is really shocked to hear that she's alive and decides to explore to make sure, since they're really not believing her. Heading upstairs to Natre's room, they see her sleeping on the bed, but Tun rolls her over to see that it's just her corpse. Her mother tells him that she eliminated herself a while back and refuses to cremate her since she loves her so much. They show her photos at school and tell her that her spirit is restless and they need to hold a funeral for her so her spirit can be at peace. Crying in pain, Natre's mother finally agrees. Later on, while Tun is asleep, someone yanks the blanket off him, jolting him awake. To his horror, Natre stands at the foot of his bed. He flees the room in terror. Natre pursues him relentlessly. Tun races downstairs to escape but encounters Jane. Confused, he asks why she left him, but in an instant, Jane's form morphs into Natre. Disturbed, Tun attempts to flee through a window using a ladder. Suddenly, Suddenly, Natre materializes, and in his panic to escape, Tun slips off the ladder. The following morning, Tun awakens in the hospital, but is well enough to attend Natre's cremation ceremony. Jane remarks, "It's finally over." Back in Tun's apartment, Jane looks at some recent pictures and notices that Natre is telling her to look at the bookshelf for something. Jane finds some negatives and uses the dark room to produce the pictures. It turns out that one drunken night at the school, Tun's friends did some illegal adult activities to Natre without her consent, while Tun was there and he was the one who took the pictures of the incident. Tun comes in asking what's wrong. Jane, now crying in tears, says she would have been a fool if she didn't find this out. Jane, having none of his BS, leaves. In a burst of anger, Tun snatches a Polaroid camera and calls out to Natre, demanding that she reveal herself. He cries out, questioning why she won't show herself if she loves him so much. With no response, he begins snapping pictures in an attempt to capture her presence. He photographs the bed with nothing, moving to the dark room, still nothing. After photographing the entire place with no success, he throws a Polaroid camera in frustration. Unexpectedly, the camera goes off, taking a photo on its own. Tun is stunned. As he looks at the picture, it reveals Natre is sitting on his shoulders the whole time. It dawns on him that this is why he's been experiencing back and neck pains, and why the doctor couldn't find anything wrong with him. Tun, in a craze, launches himself out the window. The film ends with Jane visiting Tun in a crazy hospital to see that Natre is still sitting on his shoulders.